everybody. Thank you for joining the Jefferson and Rogers podcast live. This is episode number 12. And excited to have a good friend of mine named Derick Legg on the show today. And he's got a cool story. We got some fun stuff to go over today, so let's roll, shall we? All right. So, Derick, welcome to the Jefferson and Rogers podcast. Appreciate you being here today.
I'm jacked to be here, man.
Right on, man. Why don't we do a quick intro? Just kind of let us know a little bit about yourself and where you're from and what you're up to.
Okay. Derick Legg. Lived here most of my life. St. George boy, Washington boy. Grew up in Washington City. Got 3 older brothers, a little sister. Pineview High School. I've always just wanted to work. And so even in high school, I couldn't wait to get done with high school so I go get a job.
It's awesome.
I was the kid that pushed his lawnmower around and asked people if I could mow their lawns for $8, $10 when I was 9 years old. And
started stacking cash at 9 years old.
I just always thought if I wanted something, I had to make some money and go buy it.
Dude, so, that's an incredible mentality.
So young age, entrepreneur status, definitely that mentality. I always thought, I grew up working on cars. I worked at car mechanics. Really liked working on cars until it was someone else's car. And then you break something or something else happens and you got to deal with the person.
It's not as much fun then.
Yeah, it's different. So then I transferred over to the parts side of it. So I ran the Checker Auto Parts it's O'Reilly's now. Mm-hmm. The Checker Auto Parts over by Costco and Sportsman's.
Yeah.
So I was assistant manager there for 3-4 years. While I was doing that, my brother had a contracted mail route that he managed for the post office. And I kind of started splitting a couple days with him on that, and eventually got hired on at the post office when I got married. So I went to the postmaster and was like, hey, man, I need to make more money. I'm only doing 3 days a week right now.
Yeah.
So kind of transitioned into the post office in Hurricane. I've been out there, I think I'm going on my 13th year now.
Holy smokes.
And so I've been doing that for a long time. Transferred over to the carrier side, the city carrier side, delivered pretty much everything in Hurricane. And then
are you going to mailboxes then?
Correct. So
like you're the actual mailman for 13 years.
Yeah. So they do like cluster boxes in Hurricane.
Okay.
So it's not like every house. You pull up to one of those boxes that has 16 mailboxes. Yep.
Okay.
So I did that for a little bit. My brother ended up needing someone to manage the route that he was managing. And so I kind of told him, hey, man, I'll go back to this, but I want the whole thing. Like, I need to do it every day. I'm married now. I got bills, right?
Need more hours, man.
Yeah. So I kind of switched over to that. And this is Apple Valley. So we're actually the mail people in Apple Valley.
Okay.
And then
that was his route you took over.
Correct.
Okay.
And then we go up to Hilldale and then deliver Apple Valley on the way back.
No
so
kidding.
I've been driving that highway for a long time.
No kidding.
Yep.
And are you still doing that?
So I own the contract now.
Uh-huh.
So we used to manage it for someone else. A year ago, it's a full bid process.
Sure.
It's over 100 pages.
Wow.
It's extremely.
Have you got to know that pretty well over the years?
Yeah. I mean,
how to accomplish that?
I've got it all. I pretty much just changed the numbers on what the route is now and then put the bid in. So I have everything else all filled out already.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, took that one over. I have another route that goes Hurricane to Zion. And so we stop at all the post offices up to Zion. So like Laverican, Tokerville, Leeds, all those little towns all the way up there.
Yeah. So now that you own that contract,
mm-hmm.
So now you have the ability to not have to do it yourself, but be able to hire somebody else.
Correct.
And then there's a little bit of cushion between what you pay them and then what you collect on the whole contract.
Yeah. So when you do the bid, they
mm-hmm.
actually break it down to how many quarts of oil it'll take to maintain that vehicle. I mean, so every single thing in it is,
wow.
Yeah, it's intense.
So is there much margin in it for you?
So they do allow like a manager fee.
Uh-huh.
And so that's what, like I would get the manager fee.
Yeah.
And then I have, driver pay and vehicle stipends and all of that stuff that factors in as well.
So do you still enjoy doing that?
I really like the post office in Hurricane, all the guys out there. So I probably do it, I don't know, 3-4 times a month is all. And so,
and then you hire it out the rest of the time.
Yeah. So I've had probably 5 or 6 employees through the last few years, but I always have someone out there.
Right on.
Yeah.
So what about the safe business? How did that come about?
Safe business, man. So I actually have holsters too.
The safes
so
and the that's why I first met you.
Yeah.
Was I needed a holster for my 1911.
Correct.
And then I was trying to buy a safe over at Dixie Gun and Fish, and they said, listen, you got to go talk to Derek. We can help you, but he's the guy that knows what he's talking about. Yeah. Nobody here really knows what they're talking about.
Well, I wouldn't say that. We love Dixie Gun and Fish.
Well, that was the conclusion that I came to because I wanted something specific, and nobody knew what the hell they were talking about.
Yeah, so let's touch on that in a second, but I'll get to that. So when I was doing the contract and mailer out to Apple Valley, it's only a half day. And so I was trying to do anything I could to make money the rest of the day, you know? I mean, if I slept 5 hours, I was jacked because I was working 18, 19 hours a day. That's when I had a buddy that we started holsters together. He ended up running a restaurant in Moab, a steakhouse out there. And so I bought him out of the business. And then I kind of just ran with it. I went and hit every gun store. I started making cards up. I was posting pictures.
Wow.
And 7 years later, if you're in the gun business in St. George and you haven't heard of Weapon X holsters, I'd be surprised.
So you're making holsters for pretty much every gun store in town?
Or we've turned the business down because we're too busy. Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Dude, that hurts to have to turn business down.
I know, man.
How do you crank up the volume so you can handle that much business?
That's where we're at right now. So when I was doing this, I actually did it out of my basement.
Yeah.
So I started this in an extra room in my basement. I'd outgrown that 3 years ago, and I was trying to figure out, well, what do we do next? What's the next step? How do you start scaling this? I mean, this was like a hobby with a buddy that turned into a part-time gig,
Wow.
And we started building the brand of Weapon X holsters, and everyone was kind of starting to get to know us. We did shirts, hats. I put a sticker on my truck, and then now I've got everyone honking at me all the time when I drive around. But anyway, did that for a while. Holsters opened a lot of doors in the gun community for me. I ended up talking to a friend about safes, and he had wanted to do a safe store. Mm-hmm. And we don't have one here that's strictly just safes. And so him and I kind of partnered into one.
Was this Jake?
So Jake came later.
Jake came later.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so
have you found since you've done that there's a pretty big demand for it?
For sure.
Now, did you do the testing beforehand to see if there was demand, or you just winged it like most people do?
Well, we had talked because where I was in with most of the gun stores already, I kind of went and had conversations with all of them, and I said, hey, like, you guys are already doing this. Does it justify opening a retail store just for this one, type of product?
Yeah.
And it seemed like there was, and I kind of thought, if we go in and buy some safes and I guess wing it, like you like to call it, if we go buy some safes and we try this out and, 2-3 year lease, if it doesn't work out, we still have the product and we can sell the product off and hopefully make some of our money back.
Sure.
So that was my thought going into it.
So how's it been working out so far, though?
Let me finish real quick. So that partner and we ended up splitting ways. So I had a storefront just off the boulevard by Liptrix. And when we split ways, I ended up shutting it down. I was still doing a mailer out a day and doing holsters. And so my day was deliver all the mail in Apple Valley, drive straight to the safe store. I'd be at the safe store all day till 6.
Are you making holsters at the safe store?
No. So
That's what you should have done right there.
I know. So I ended up doing that, right? So I was there till 6, and then I would go home and I'd make holsters till midnight, 1, 2 in the morning.
And then start it all over again.
And then that was 6 days a week.
Wow.
And so we ended up shutting that store down because I was just running myself ragged, right? Kind of moved everything into a storage unit, and I was still just selling stuff in a storage unit. So we were advertising everything. Hey, kind of putting the front out there, like we still had a storefront, right?
Absolutely.
And then when people would call, we'd be like, yeah, we've got that one. I actually have it over here in my storage unit. You know, if you can meet me over here. And then we would end up closing the deal there, basically.
At the storage unit.
At the storage unit. We've made it work.
That's impressive, man.
Yeah, crazy.
So now you guys don't have the storage unit anymore. And you've got a pretty sweet storefront location over there off of Sunset.
Yep.
Right next to, what is it, Carpet Plus? Or?
Yeah, 1397 West Sunset. So we're straight across the street from Taco Bell. And big yellow safe out front, big yellow.
Can't miss it.
Yeah.
What's the story behind that safe?
So they actually make those for advertisement. So
it's not even a real safe.
Oh, no, it doesn't function or anything. But they had one in a SHOT Show. And the story is this little guy came up and said, little Italian guy, 5 feet tall, says, hey, man, I need a safe like that. And they said, oh, well, this is just advertisement. We don't actually build them this big. And he said, that's fine. What's it going to cost for you to build one that big? And they were like, I'd have to get back to you. So they get back to him and they say, we're probably $20,000 to build one that big.
Yeah.
And the guy says, okay, can I get it in yellow? And so they built him that same safe, and it has like different stories in the safe because the safe's
like he can
like
walk
10
up
feet tall.
A ladder or something?
Yeah, I don't know if this is, I picture it as like a library ladder, right? That you like slide around on. So yeah, they've made, Jake would know this story better than me, but they've made maybe a dozen of them.
So after the model got some attention, people actually wanted a safe built that big.
Yeah.
And now they've actually built a couple of functional ones.
There's a couple functional ones, and then they have, like I said, like 10 or 12 maybe that are around the nation for advertisement, and we've got one of them. So It's pretty cool to have one.
Are you going to, what's the plan with that thing? Are you going to leave it on that trailer?
Yeah.
Just leave it right there.
It brings so many people in. We're kind of getting known for that. Hey, hey, where are you at? And we're like, oh, we're on Sunset.
You ever seen that great big ass yellow?
yeah, that's us. No, it's a cool story to have, and it's a good icebreaker.
Absolutely.
And people will come in. Oh, my safe's already loaded. Like, you just need my address to come and deliver it? Haha, funny guy.
Yeah. It's all on the trailer and everything.
Yeah.
I didn't even think you guys had a hitch lock on that thing. Something you just pull up and take away with it.
Yeah, there's a lock on it.
There? I'd take a safe that big. I wouldn't have anywhere to put it. But
yeah. So that store came about. My wife and I actually took over the house that I grew up in Washington.
Yeah.
And so we took over that house. Parents got divorced, and then my mom got the house. So my wife and I I wasn't married yet. I took it over, got married, doing holsters in the basement, right? And we decided it was time to buy a lot and start trying to build a house about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. So we bought a lot. And then it hit me, like, well, when I build this new house, I'm not going to have an extra room to build holsters in, right? And so I either need to plan on that, or maybe this is where we start scaling.
Absolutely.
This is where we get to, let's get back in a storefront. Let's combine holsters and safes. So, someone's looking for a safe, I can be there being a safe salesman. If someone's looking for a holster, then I can be back there building holsters, and I could kind of run both businesses out of one storefront.
But are you advertised for both out there?
So
or is just the safe store?
Just the safe store.
Okay.
Holsters. So we retail in Rowdy's Range, Dixie Gun and Fish, couple pawn shops.
Yeah. So you're stretched pretty thin on the
I
volume you can do.
Yeah, I don't want to take the attention away from them. And so when I went into this, I went and met with Rowdy's, and I met with Jake over at Dixie Gun and Fish, and I said, hey, man, for holsters to go to the next level, this is what I've got to do. And like, I'm not doing it to open a storefront to compete with you guys, but I need more space. And that's when Jake was actually like, well, we've got some extra Champion safes. If you want, we can throw some Champion over there just to give you a little more inventory. And so I was like, yeah. And so we kind of sat down and hashed out some numbers and made it work for both of us. And so that's how we ended up with Fort Knox and Browning that I bring in. And then he has Champion, Superior, and then we've kind of played around with a couple cheaper brands.
So there's some different price points for people. So the
For sure.
Fort Knox is that the nicer of all of them?
That's your Rolls Royce. That's your handmade.
Is it?
Yep. I mean, that's as good as it gets.
And then the Champion, which one is the budget safe?
So Champion's got a couple budget safes. Like your Model T would be our number one seller. It's a good introductory safe. Like your $1,200 right now. You get door organizer, you still get the steel, you still get the fire protection, you get all of that.
So still a quality safe,
Right.
not like a Walmart safe.
Right. I was going to say, it's not
But
Chinese.
it's just, you can't compare it to the Fort Knox.
Right, exactly. Most of the Champions probably wouldn't compare to a Fort Knox. But
Even the higher end stuff.
Yeah, but what Champion does is they have Champion and Superior. So it's like your Toyota and Lexus.
Okay, so it's under the same roof. Those guys are.
Exactly. So your Superior stuff will compete with a Fort Knox.
Okay.
And they have some, like they do an Untouchable, and the Untouchable and a Superior actually has like a tempered glass plate. And they're the only one that does that.
Tempered glass plate, where's that at?
So behind the lock. So if you're trying to drill it out and you hit that tempered glass, like tempered glass is pressurized, right?
Okay.
So it would explode the glass, and then it drops a relocker so you can't get in.
Oh, wow.
So like your Italian job, right?
Yeah.
When she's drilling the safe out and you hear a crack and she stops. So they actually do that. Fort Knox doesn't do that. So that's a cool thing that they do.
Huh.
But it's kind of like someone comes in, like when you came in, it was like, what's important to you? Budget or fire rating or steel content or weight or storage capacity.
Yeah.
And then we can kind of point to, okay, well, this checks those boxes.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, this one might not be a budget friendly one, but it checks everything that you have. Okay, well, you want to dial it back one model to kind of get closer to that budget friendly,
Yeah.
we have that.
So I'm curious, now that you've been doing the safe business for a little bit,
Yep.
where's the majority of the revenue and the potential from like a business standpoint? Is that in the safe business? Is it in the holsters?
So when I started all of this, I had thought, man, sell a couple safes, pay the bills, and holsters will just kind of stay like in the positive, right? And then once we opened it, and COVID and the election and all that had a lot to play with it, but I was alone when I opened it, but I just didn't have time to even do holsters. And so I went 4 months and didn't do one holster.
You just had a bunch of stock out there already?
Yeah. And I had store orders building up. I had custom ones building up, trying to get this store ready. And once we got the store ready, safes in, everything, it took me a couple months to do that. When I started back on holsters, we were maybe 350 holsters behind.
And you had to build every single one of those?
I was building them all by hand.
Don't you have any help to do that?
I do now.
Good night.
And so I've brought on Emmett, he grew up the street from me. I've known him his whole life.
Huh.
So I brought him in. He was kind of looking for a job, and I said, look, dude, I got 4 jobs, and I'm going to train you on every single one of them.
Huh.
And you basically need to be me. And whatever I don't have time for, I need you to do that.
Sure.
And so, like a lot of people just call him Little Derick or Derick's assistant.
Is he turning out pretty good?
He's killing it.
Killing it.
He's through like the winter and through your buying seasons, October, November, December, I probably wouldn't have made it if he wasn't there. Like it got to where I was so spread so thin trying to finish the house.
Yeah.
We had a baby in October, our first baby.
Wow.
I just
incredible.
opened this store and we were killing it. And yeah, if he wasn't there, I wouldn't have made it.
So you didn't answer my question though.
Sorry, go ahead.
Is it the safes that are the money maker?
Right now, safes. Safes are killing it, yeah.
So the reason I ask is because when I first got started in the window business, I had lots of things pulling at me. I mean, you start making money, you start making moves, you got opportunities coming at you from every direction.
Right.
And without some experience in dealing with that kind of stuff, you kind of feel like you want to do a little bit of everything.
Right.
But what it does is it takes away the attention from your main thing.
For sure. And I've felt that.
So I had to reel a couple of things back in and get refocused in the beginning because I wanted to start shopping real estate, and I wanted to, there were some other things that I was looking into during that first couple of months of, first I was sober. I was like clear-headed for the first time. I wanted to go 1,000 miles an hour, and I thought I could do everything. But my window business started to fall off because I was taking attention away from it. But that was my main thing. So I had to it took me a while to figure it out. I got my teeth kicked in a little bit, but I had to get refocused back on my window business and start creating that vision of where I wanted to take it, what I wanted to do with it, so I could start building it and scaling it and attracting some good people into the business. So if the safe business is the bread and butter for you, is that the money maker, how worth it is it to take some of the focus that you put on these other things,
right,
and to focus it all in
right
on the safe business and get some salespeople out there and start doing some marketing and start bumping that revenue line.
Yeah.
Because, what I put this show together for is for people like us, that they want to do something special. They've got a work ethic, but maybe they don't have much direction yet. And they know that they want to accomplish big things with their life, but, without having that outside influence, without having a higher perspective from somebody else to kind of help you make some decisions with some coaching and mentoring and consulting.
Yeah.
Dude, you can just sit there and spin your wheels and spin your wheels and spin your wheels
I
because
felt it, man.
the only thing that you ever know is what you got inside your own head.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we don't have the answers to everything. So that was a big trajectory shift for me. Was at the end of 2019, I just had a huge year, was super proud of myself, and was like thinking that doubling from 2 million to 4 million was like a ridiculous goal. Until I ran into somebody that told me that was thinking small. And it got me thinking about, small. Well, I thought I was doing pretty good.
Right.
And then I met somebody that had done 6 million before, and they had a new goal of doing $10 million. It was 5 times as much as I did that year.
Right.
So I knew it was possible. And then it was like, I'm very curious. I start asking lots of questions. It's like, well, how do I do it? Like, how did you guys accomplish that? I don't get it. I did $2 million. It felt like I was working my ass off all year long. And I have a pretty solid team. And the only other company that I had to compare myself to was the company that I used to work for. And they're continuing to spin their wheels. And they were one of those companies that, the only thing that they have to work off of is what's bouncing around in their own head and no outside perspective. So they were going to, and they still do, just stay right there in their little comfort zone and producing within, 10 or 20% of the same revenue every year. So that shift for me, by paying for a consulting package with money that I didn't have, so I could start to get some outside perspective and get like that 30,000 foot view of my business from these guys that had operated at a very high level. It opened a lot of doors for me just because I'd never been able to think that big.
Yeah.
So anyways, so there's people listening to this right now are in similar situations. Like, they're working their fucking ass off right now, working 3 jobs. And there's one of the things that they're doing that if they just cut those other 2 things out, focused 100% right here, you're going to be able to make as much or more money in that one area if you're ultra focused than you are with all 3 of them combined. Wouldn't you agree?
I think you're right. I keep on having this pipe dream of I can get these mailer outs kind of on autopilot and then take off. But
yeah.
It seems like once I have that, I get, couple weeks, a month, whatever down the road, and then it's just pulling me back.
Lots of attention has to go that way.
Yeah.
But with the safe business, I think one thing that really helped me was building and developing my vision of where I was going to go and then talking about it every single day. Like, this is what we're going to do. There's people being underserved and taken advantage of in the window market. You know, nobody even knows that they're being taken advantage of. All these new homes that they're building here in St. George and anywhere across the nation, the contractors literally go out and they do the same thing, and they get 3 bids, just like we're all taught to do. We got to get 3 bids. Whoever's the lowest, whoever you feel the best about, that's who you go with. But when you're talking about building $400,000 and $500,000 and $600,000 homes, and you're using the lowest bid on windows, this is one of the most important things in your home for energy efficiency and keeping your home comfortable, not wearing out your AC and your furnace because they have to work all year long to try and maintain the temperature, because you just put like a $65 window in your house. And nobody has any idea.
Yeah.
It is ridiculous.
I just went through it. I didn't have none of that explained to me.
Nope. No, it's the difference in a $65 window and a $600 window if they were to give you a nice window. And of course they're not going to say anything because that difference of $500 comes out of their pocket.
Right.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. We've
So
got a lot of windows.
The cool thing is, though, is it keeps us in business forever. Like, for eternity, these guys are going to keep doing that. So when I'm sitting in front of my sales guys and my operations and my admin team every day, it's like, listen, we have a mission. We have people to help. We have a whole nation of people that we need to educate about replacement windows because nobody knows about this. And they're getting taken advantage of. And the people that are doing replacement windows that kind of have the vision of what we're doing, they do it and just basically give them a shinier version of what they already have and upcharge the shit out of it. And then they don't have any customer service. They don't help their people. They don't honor their warranties. So every step of the process, people are getting to take advantage of. And we're going to build a company to change this industry and to dominate and to be the absolute juggernaut in replacement windows and talking about it every day.
Yeah.
Every day. To where you can attract some good people when you have something to show up to every day and you have something to be excited about and something that you feel important about. And you can build something around the safe business similar with a vision of where you're going to go. And it's St. George is not the only place that has a bunch of gun shops, but nobody specific that can help and educate people about the differences in safes, because it's important to have a safe for your guns.
Right.
I've been married for 11 years, and I've only had a safe for 3 months. And I've had guns floating around the house with little kids my whole life.
Yeah.
And if you can educate people on that, you can attract some good people, and you can build an empire of a safe company.
Well, it's like building off of that when it's been a huge mental shift for me, because going into it, it was a holster store. I mean, I was going to do a holster, not really a store, but a holster workshop. You know, that's where I'd build everything. That's how I was going to build it all out. I'd have more space to do it. And then, like, safes were just something to kind of fill space, you know, and if we sell one, great.
But dude, you know enough about safes and you're passionate enough about safes, you can shift on that, because I think what the holsters is it's like another version of what you have with the mail route, where if you're not there and if you're not doing it, it almost doesn't exist.
Yeah.
With the safes, on the other hand, you can train salespeople. You can cast the vision about what we're doing and why we're doing it and how it helps people and the education aspect that people can get excited about.
Yeah.
Holsters, I mean, I like holsters too, but I've watched, I don't know how many holster companies in St. George alone
I know.
come and go.
Right.
Because everybody gets excited and they want to build holsters. It's something they can get excited about and have fun doing, but you can never make any fucking money doing it.
Right.
So the safes, I'm going to challenge you.
You're challenging me.
Challenging you.
Okay.
This is Safe Store is the first one of many.
I like it. That's what I need to build my vision a lot bigger for safes. And like last 6 months, I've really done that. I mean, we went from, you know, thinking a couple safes a month, we'd be jacked, and we're doing 14, 15 safes a month, which is miles ahead of anything I thought.
Without even any advertising, right? You guys aren't even advertising.
Barely. I mean, we do some like Facebook posts.
Yeah.
You know, stuff. I mean, not posts, but ads and stuff like that. we've tried the radio stuff. I don't think that our market's in where the radio stuff should be. Social media has brought in more for us than anything.
Yeah. If you can bring in somebody that specializes in social media and have like some cool videos put together and some educational stuff out there, and do put your own podcast together and start talking about guns and safes and the importance and the vision and all that stuff every single week to start creating an audience and more awareness.
Right.
And then it turns into a little safe store in St. George that used to sell 2 or 3. Now they're 14 to 15. Now with it's a little bit extra work, you're doing 30 to 40 a month. And now you're opening another location in northern Utah. You're looking at other locations in, Elko, Nevada, and Boise, Idaho.
Right.
Las Vegas. I mean, you could scale that type of business.
Yeah, I really think we could. I think we've got great product. I mean, we have a variety of product. What kills me right now is I go around to, Sportsman's, Cow Ranch, whatever, and nobody has the inventory that we do, because I think we've spread it around enough to all these different brands that even though because supply's hard right now, right? It isn't everything.
It is, yeah.
And so we're getting, 5 or 6 from this brand, and we're getting maybe 12 from this brand, but I'm only getting 1 from this brand. But those other stores are just getting that 1 and 3, and we're ending up with 20. And so I think that we've kind of spread it out. I think we hit a lot of different price points. I think you're right. Like you're saying, man, dream big. I never dreamt big for safes like it is now. And now I'm just riding coattails trying to catch up.
That's the moneymaker, dude.
I agree.
That's the moneymaker. Because you can hire somebody to come in and sell safes for you and have enough cushion in a safe that you can pay them really well.
Right.
And get them excited about coming in every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
But with holsters, I mean, there's not much margin in holsters. You got to be making 1,000 holsters a month to be able to pay somebody $60,000 a year to do it.
Right. I mean, the hard thing about holsters is I'm very type red. I mean, I am red personality as it gets. And when I was hand building everything, and I was doing it. So every single holster that you bought that had the Weapon X brand on it, I literally made that from a flat sheet.
Yeah.
And formed the whole thing. And
I got one myself, dude. They're badass holsters.
Yeah. But you're right. It's like, it takes me an hour and, plus the materials. And I'm like, hey, man, here's your $45 holster. And so,
yeah, every time you should do that from now on, it should fucking hurt.
It does.
It hurts now.
We've streamlined a lot of stuff when we moved into the new store. And so we're doing, like you were saying, doing 1,000. I mean, we're a couple hundred a month right now, and that's at a very low level that I think we could double or triple. But I've taken a lot of that detail and design work and all of that out of the picture where I was hand doing all of it. And I have just molds set up now that it's just like, this is what it is, where I was like heat gunning everything and manipulating the material and doing all this stuff to build all of that. And so now it's more streamlined to where I can have Emmett, or we've got Abram there too. And I can kind of show them like, I've already gotten it to this point. Now you just need to assemble it.
Right.
And so that's kind of how holsters started taking off when safes started taking off. And I was just getting pulled both ways. And that's where Emmett came into the picture. But
yeah, I mean, if you could put a whole operation together, because there's companies that are successful doing holsters.
Right.
And I mean, I got a friend that just bought a purple holster. I'm a purple guy, so he wanted to show it to me.
There you go.
Love purple. And
if I'd have known that, we'd have done your holster purple.
I mean, I never thought about doing a purple holster until he showed me that thing. I was like, dude, I got to get me one of these now.
Right.
But it was awesome, and it probably cost him like $120. And it doesn't take them very much time.
Right.
But when you've moved past like the hometown pricing, the good old boy, I'm going to get you a holster for $45, and it took me an hour to make it. I mean, you made like $15 for that 1 hour that you put into that thing.
I know.
That's ridiculous.
And I did that for years and years and years.
No, you can't be doing that to yourself.
Yeah. But that was my dream, I've surpassed holsters of what I ever thought it would be when we started it. And so now it's like, well, where's that, like you're doing with safes, like what's that next step? How do I streamline this to where I can just plug a couple people in to assemble everything? And that's where we're getting to.
Because the goal is, I mean, listen, you're a family man.
Yeah.
And you want to do some big things with your life.
Yeah.
You don't want to be ended up 75 years old and wonder where the next paycheck's coming from.
I agree.
That's bullshit.
Yeah.
Because that's what most people in this town will end up doing, including most people that we know.
Yeah.
Because that's the only thing that they've ever been taught. But once you've been exposed to it, dude, now it should haunt you every day for the rest of your life. How do I do this at a level that I can create some real wealth for myself?
Yeah.
And to be able to put away some money every month to put in some investments and get some reoccurring income. Invest in commercial real estate, gas stations, storage units, RV parks, multifamily real estate.
Yeah.
And start getting money coming in every month.
See, I think that what I like about all of this and the podcast and the few times I've seen it, I like how we'll even like talk about Andy's podcast. I've heard you mention Andy Frisella and Ed Milet and these guys. It's like, you know, you grow up in Washington City and we were in the old part of Washington City.
Yeah.
And your vision's not very big on what you can do. And I don't mean that rude. It's just the reality.
Yeah.
You know,
you are
a product
representation or a product of your environment.
Exactly. And then when you get into all these things, like my older brother ended up kind of getting out of that mentality, and he was working for a guy that did really well, and it really opened up what he knew was possible, right? And so getting around people like yourself, it always makes me think like, okay, you know, where I came from, like, I need to say this too. So my wife's a nurse practitioner, so that allows me a lot of freedom to do everything that I can do, right? Like
Yeah.
she's got that steady paycheck coming in.
Yeah.
And couldn't be more blessed to have her. But at the same time, it's like I look at all those people that surrounded me growing up, and there was a lot of great people. Don't get me wrong. We're just talking financially. Like we're above financial wise what most of those people were.
Yeah.
And
that's
so-
a scary thing, though, comparing yourself to other people
Right.
that are broke.
But yeah. But it's made me think like there's so much more out there that I was never exposed to. And so watching all of these or listening to these podcasts and watching different things and observing people like you and Brent Skinner and these guys that I've kind of trying to run with, it's really opened me up to like, there's a lot of things you can do out there. And the whole
There is.
dream big thing, like your big dreams when you were 18 and then you accomplish those when you're 30, you know, it's like,
Yeah. It doesn't seem all that big anymore.
yeah, what's your regret? Dream bigger, man. And I never understood that until I hit 30, 31, and I've pretty much accomplished most of the stuff I set out to do
Yeah.
for my life.
Now it's time to go bigger.
Exactly.
Yep. And without ever being exposed to it, you just don't have any chance.
Yeah.
There's something cool about just putting yourself out there and surrounding yourself with good people just to gain some awareness.
Right.
Get a higher level of perspective and see what's possible for yourself. Because there's no doubt. Like I came from a very similar background. I just grew up on the other side of the hill over here off of Sunset. And I mean, most of the people that I grew up riding around with and terrorizing in my old neighborhood still live there.
Yeah.
Still live there. And they're those people that just repeat the same patterns. They stay at the same job. They're happy with being mediocre. And for whatever reason, I had a bug pretty early on that I did not want to fucking end up like them.
Yeah.
I don't want to stay here. I don't want to be broke. My parents didn't have any money, so I grew up stealing shit all the time. I wanted shit.
Yeah.
I never got taught to work, so I just stole it all. There was one time I watched my parents write checks my whole life. And I went to my cousin's house, and this guy was, he was like their cousin. So I knew of him, and he was their cousin from like the other side of the family, and he was older. He had a checkbook.
Okay.
I was 10 years old. I was like, fucking A, this guy's got a checkbook. I'm going to go get me some rollerblade wheels. I swear to God.
That's your dream big back then, huh?
That was my dream big. I mean, my dad worked, but he was gone all the damn time, so I never got to work with him until I was later on in my life, so I didn't have much of work ethic. And nobody ever taught me that I could just grab a lawnmower and go down the street and ask somebody to mow their lawn and make some money.
Yeah.
So I literally started stealing from the gas station and writing checks to myself so I could buy stuff, when I was like 8 years old. But, you know, eventually I started getting some mentors and some coaches and being able to get some higher level perspective. I worked with my dad for a lot of years building houses, so I'd gained some work ethic. And now you just start piecing all those things together. Like, I don't want to be broke my whole life. It like haunted me. I didn't want to be a freaking construction worker my whole life.
Right.
I didn't want to be a fucking drunk and a pothead my whole life, even though I was for 20 years. But the difference in what I did and what most people do is I let it haunt me, and I let that voice make me sick to my stomach till I was just sick and tired of it. And then I actually did something about it. Most people don't, dude.
Yeah.
They suppress it, and then they just repeat the same patterns their whole life.
Yep. I agree. And that's where the pot and the alcohol comes in, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never done it myself, so I don't know, but that's what I've observed.
It is, man. Yeah, it's you mask it.
Yeah.
And you suppress it.
Did you play sports growing up?
Not really.
Not really? Because I think, like, work ethic, like what drives an 8-year-old to push around a lawnmower and knock on strangers' doors to see if you can make some money?
Some of it is upbringing.
Yeah.
You know, some of it is just genetics.
I feel like sports is kind of what brought that to me. Like, my dad pushed us to play baseball. And so my dad played baseball. He taught all of his siblings baseball, so we all played baseball. None of us ended up, well, my one brother went a little far and then went into basketball and football, but we were all really good at baseball, and my dad drove us on that. And it, like, you'd get home from school, right? And like most normal kids would go do their homework. My dad would sit on the bucket out front and we'd throw him 100 pitches. I mean, like, that was the drive that we had.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it came from that. And I think a lot of the business aspect of, like, trying to predict what's going to happen, trying to have different plans, trying to have all, like, it all came from my baseball background, as funny as that is to say. You know, like,
that's awesome.
If this ball's hit to you, what are you going to do with it? And so
Gotta be ready.
Exactly. Like, you throwing it to first for the out, do you have a force, you know, all that stuff. And it made me really predict just in conversations and everything through my life. So that's why I was curious if you'd played sports or not.
You know what, I did, but I never, like, my dad wasn't really there.
Yeah.
I grew up with a single mom.
Okay.
And she took me to, like, I played baseball until I was like 12 years old, just little league stuff.
Yeah.
But I was never in it. I never practiced. Like, we showed up for practice, and I was the guy, like, joking around, and I was pretty naturally good at playing. But I never learned the game, like all that stuff that you just rattled off about, like how to decipher what play to do and if where to throw the ball.
Right.
I was just there to be there.
Right.
And that's for most of my life how I was, because I didn't have a lot of direction. Like, my dad wasn't there. My mom's scrambling as a single mom to put food on the table.
Yeah.
And so I was the oldest of 4 boys, and we just fend for ourselves. Like, literally, back in those days, we'd be gone all day long. Nobody even knew where the fuck we were. We'd just show up, and we'd get in trouble if we came back home if it was too late after dark.
Right.
But there's some good things that come from that too, because we had to figure a lot of shit out on our own.
Yep.
We had to survive, and we gained a lot of confidence from that, because we would go and be places at a very young age that little kids shouldn't be.
100%, same thing.
And we can make it work.
Yeah. We were building our house in Washington. We lived right off Diagonal, right next to the Red Hill right here. And I mean, I would have been 6. I think I was 6, 5 or 6.
Huh.
And we'd climb that hill every day. My oldest brother.
Up the Red Hill?
Yeah. He'd strap us up in some kind of knot with the rope, and he would hoist us up the parts that we were too small to climb. And
Wow.
I mean, we were just gone, like you're saying. There were weekends we'd just go throw a tent up there, and we'd stay the night in the tent. And yeah, dude, I totally get it. It's so different now.
It is. It's way different.
Yeah.
So another thing I wanted to talk to you about, one of the things that I've been dealing with in business for the past 3 years, but a lot over the past year as we've been growing, is the employees and dealing with people and how you hire and how you deal with people.
Yeah.
And you were telling me a story earlier before we got on about some of your experiences with that.
Right.
And wanted to see if you'd share that with us.
Sure. So with the mail routes, we've had a little bit of turnover. Once we get someone that sticks, they stick, and
Yeah.
we'll have them for a year or two, and that's about as much as I can expect out of someone. Those routes are really built for like a college kid, maybe like newly married. I mean, they're just not, they're not insurance, you know, you don't have all that stuff.
Yeah.
And
It's pretty
so-
specific. Where do you guys post those ads at to
For
find
employees?
the people? Yeah.
It's really just been word of mouth.
Has it really?
The last year we've been doing some stuff just on Facebook. Hey, looking for someone, this is what it entails. You know, you need to have a good driving record and pass a drug test and everything that the post office requires. But so we had one employee recently that had a few discrepancies, I guess you could put it.
Dude, employees are challenging, man.
They're hard, man.
They're challenging. And
I get sucked in because I want to help people.
Yeah.
And then it's like there's some people that react to that really good and they want to perform for you because they know you got their back.
and then some people take advantage.
Exactly. Exactly. And I've only had a couple of those, but it hurts. Like it
does.
hurts me mentally. I mean, I'm just like emotionally drained from the last couple of days and dealing with a couple
Yeah.
of things that we've had.
So what have you, I think the reason that I wanted to ask you is because it's important as we go through life with our relationships with our family and our kids and our wife and our employees, that we take these experiences and we learn and we grow from them so
Yeah.
we don't make this mistake again. So we can be a little bit more aware of a similar type of personality next time, or some of those triggers, or just kind of have a higher awareness next time of how to approach that situation. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about. I was like, what
Sure.
did you learn from that? What do you think you're taking in next time? And for somebody else watching, like maybe to learn from an experience before they have to experience it themselves.
Right. Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me has been like when that line starts to get pushed, I have to draw a hard line with it. Because the people that usually will take advantage, I'm like, well, it was just this one time, and I want them to succeed. And I want to, I mean, that's what drives me with business, is being able to have employees that are paying their bills with what I've been able to provide, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're creating your own economy,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
you've got enough room inside of your economy and a vision that people can fit themselves into.
Right. Yeah, you said it better than me.
Yeah, well, I've been trying to develop that myself too, because I've always wanted to be able to articulate that, because I want to create something special that people can be a part of.
Yeah,
And it's like creating your own economy.
for sure. Yeah, I think the biggest thing with me is just figuring out the line and maybe push that line one time and see how they react to it. Like I'll bring Emmett back up again. Like there's a couple times I've had to get on Emmett for
Yeah.
different things. I mean, the kid's working 4 jobs like I am right now, you know? And when I get on him, it's like an immediate correction. And then he'll check in with me. Hey man, I noticed that I did that wrong this time. Where am I at now? And so every now
That's
and
awesome.
then he'll pull me aside and be like I've just got things going all different ways that I don't even realize. You know, I need to follow up on him and check on him. And he'll grab me and be like, where am I at? You know, I noticed that this was lacking a little bit and I've kind of picked this up. What do you feel? So really just having people like that are kind of aware of it. I mean, and he's 19 and he's well aware of all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so,
You lucked out with him.
yeah, for sure. 100%. And then this other situation I've been dealing with the last week and a half, it's like, you know, this problem happened. Okay, well, what do we need to do to correct this? And so I would step in and correct it.
So it's the opposite end of the spectrum on this one.
100%. And so then it's like an excuse. And then when something happens that I need to know about, never gets back to me. And then I find out down the road. But then what I'm trying to correct in myself is, okay, well, that line just got pushed again. and I'll kind of side with them. Okay, well, they're trying, they're doing their best, and then it gets pushed again.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, we finally just had to draw the line the other day with this certain employee and let her go.
Yeah.
And
I think one of the important things that I've learned over the last couple of years is to have, just like it's important to have a high level of communication with your wife, you got to have a very high level of communication with your employees.
yeah,
And you got to set expectations and make them really clear. And then you just got to come to terms with the fact you're going to have some difficult conversations.
right.
And if you're going to ask and have high expectations of people, you can't just assume that they're going to know that you have these high expectations of them. You got to have these conversations with them and let them know where you're at and what you expect. And if they're not showing up the way that you need them to show up, then you're having those conversations with them and saying, listen, I want this to work out. And I think that you're a good fit, but you have to take the extra effort to show that you're serious about being here. Otherwise, this doesn't work out. Because as a business owner, if you're not willing to hire and fire people fast, you could go months and months and months of paying somebody and they're not doing much at all.
Yeah.
If you're not paying attention, and if you're not setting those expectations high, and having some accountability.
And
So
that's where I kind of got burned on this one, for sure.
but it wasn't that long, right?
Yeah, no. It
Wasn't that
was
long? It's not like she
few
went
weeks.
3 months and was milking it on you.
Yeah.
You found out pretty quick. So next time you're going to, like, I have some of these sore spots too now from previous experiences
Yeah.
and mistakes that I've made that I will never make again. Because now it's a sore spot and I'm like ultra aware of what I'm looking for now. I do not ever want to feel like that again. I
Yeah.
don't ever want to be taken advantage of. And there's certain questions that I start asking. There's certain expectations and accountability systems that I'm setting up now to where, if it is going to happen, I'm going to recognize it quickly and either get that person back on the path that I need them on or get them moving down the road.
Yeah. I've got a buddy that's running a business right now that he's got some pretty high turnover with
Yeah.
employees. And
What kind of business is it?
so he's the ice cream man. So he's the ice cream guy around town.
The ice cream truck?
Yeah, ice cream truck.
Shut
man.
the front door, dude.
No, dead serious.
I love the ice cream truck.
The coolest thing about knowing the ice cream guy is when you have a birthday and
Yeah.
he pulls up and you're like, dude, the ice cream guy just
Dude,
came to my
I
birthday.
need his number.
I'll get it to you.
The other day, I got to tell you this. We were at the Easter family gathering.
Okay.
I got all the kids there. And, aunts and uncles, grandma, we're celebrating. It was an amazing day. We hear the ice cream man coming. And I can't even eat ice cream right now, but I just get stoked about the ice cream man. I was like, you guys hear that? I think he's coming this way. So we wait till he gets down to the bottom of the street on the other street over, and he goes the other way. We're like, shit, we got to go find him. So I load up all the kids in the truck. I got like 12 or 14 kids in my truck. And we go start looking for the ice cream man. And we're asking all the neighbors, like, you guys see the ice cream man come by here? They're like, yeah, he went that way. And then we go that way. And then we go up there, and they said, no, he went that way. And we drove around for 45 minutes looking for the freaking ice cream man. Couldn't find him.
Oh, geez.
I'm trying to download apps on my phone. It's like, they got to have an ice cream man app or something.
Locate that truck, right?
So I ended up taking 14 kids to the gas station to go get some ice cream.
Oh, man.
But I love the ice cream man, dude.
Yeah, but we have conversations about employees pretty often. And he's, how do you deal with this? And I don't have the answers, right? Like, I'm going through it too.
Yeah.
And so we'll sit there and just bounce stuff off each other. Well, how did you handle that? What did this person do? And so the employees thing is a high topic in my mind right now.
It is, man. And it's always going to be. And the more you can be aware of what you need to work on and practice those things and get used to having those difficult conversations, dude, the better you can get at having difficult conversations, just that one thing can change how your employees perform for you. Because you've set expectations. They know that you're serious. You're like having an eye-to-eye conversation with them. And they feel like, listen, this is not just this guy trying to micromanage the shit out of me. He actually cares. He wants me to be successful. He wants me to succeed here. And he's trying to accomplish something big with his company. He's not going to let mediocre people operate inside of his company. So people will weed themselves out, or they will step up and do things that they didn't even think that they were capable of doing because of the expectations and the environment that you've supplied for them to be in.
Yeah. Yeah, one of my faults is, like, I'm a 2 feet in, go getter, just point out the mountain and I'll move it type of personality.
Oh, yeah.
And so I assume everyone is like that, and you get in these situations.
Same as me, dude. That's a hard thing to overcome.
And it's like, I'll get someone under my belt and I'm like, wait, you didn't see this? Like the van needs an oil change and you didn't go get the oil change? Like something simple, and it kills me. I probably struggle with that more than anything with employees.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's an important one, because us as the business owners are the business owners for a reason, and they're the employees for a reason. And if everybody was like us, well, what fun would that be?
Yeah.
So the key is that you have to recognize that people are where they are. They're working for you, and it's your responsibility to guide them, lead them, give them some direction and expectations so they can operate at the level that you need them to operate at, because they're not going to be able to figure it out on their own. You start getting to like COO and CEO level type of people, and that's a different story.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about the level of people that we're talking about, whether it's admin, operations, the lower level salespeople, things like that, you got to have systems and processes and very clear expectations for those people, so they know what direction you need them to be going. Otherwise, they're going to go off in their own direction.
Yeah.
And it's not a very good one usually.
Right.
Yeah.
Usually there's a lot of cleanup for you and I.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
True.
Yeah, I'm on probably 4 or 5 calls every week just with consultants and coaches, trying to learn how to do this at a higher level and put together all my systems and processes, and working with companies that do like franchise models, so I can have things in place as if I'm $100 million company about to sell my business for a crazy multiple. That's what I want to build this thing like. Not just like some mom and pop thing, like fly by the seat of your pants and don't even know what my P&L looks like or anything like that. That's how, if you're serious about your business, whether you plan on selling it or not, you're building it like it's a Fortune 500 company with systems and processes and CRMs and financial tracking and employee agreements, standard operating procedures. It's next level shit, dude. Yeah. It's a lot of fucking work.
Yeah, we're training a new girl on our Zion route right now, and everything I just went through with the same or a different employee on the same route. And my buddy, again, I just project my own personality on people. One of my other friends was like, dude, you don't have like an outline of what you expect out of them on those routes? And I'm like, well, no, I train them. So they're aware of it because I train them. Mm-hmm. Well, now I've even stepped aside from the training part because I'm at the store. Yeah. And so I have Emmett or someone else out there training them.
Dude, now it's even more important that you have those guidelines and a flow chart.
It hit me the other day.
Training that's duplicatable.
Exactly. It hit me when he said that. It really hit me, and I was like it was one of those things that I was like, duh. How did I not think of that?
And how can you expect people to operate at a high level when they're getting trained by the guy who got trained by the trainer who got trained by the trainer?
Exactly. It's so washed out by then.
So it's completely washed out, and the perspective is completely changed. The expectations aren't there anymore because those guys don't give a shit whether it gets done right. They're just there to get paid hourly to train this person.
Yeah, this is what you do here. This is what you do here. Move on to the next thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It is, man. It's a constant work in progress, and those systems and the processes are super important if you want to try and keep that at a high level as it trickles down lower and lower and lower.
Yeah.
And it takes work, dude. But the amount of work up front that you're going to have to do is going to save you so much time and money down the line for mistakes and misinterpretations and lack of training and lack of repetition for those people, because they get trained one time and they're expected to go out there and operate at a high level without any continued training or continued education or refreshers.
Yeah.
And it's no wonder they get 3 or 4 months or a year down the road, and you go and kind of shadow them and look what they're doing. I've experienced this in my own business. Right. It's like they're not doing anything like what I used to do it like. It's like, how the fuck did we get this far away from how I used to do it? I don't get it.
True. It's true. I mean, I go do like I was in Apple Valley today. I went out and did that this morning, and the girl I've got out there now does great. There's a couple things that I'm like, why is this happening? You know, or why is, like, I don't know if it's gonna make sense to everyone, but like you have your grocery ads, right? And they go in. They should go in every Tuesday, because they're active on Wednesday. And so when we go out there, I'll have a box that is assigned to nobody. It's just a vacant box, and it's stuffed full of grocery ads. And I'm like, guys, like, how hard is this to see that that's stuffed and pull it out? But if I was out there, I never would have put all those in. And so it's just little things like that where I go out there and haven't been out there for a long time. And I mean, we're talking, there's like dirt in these things. They've been in there so long, you know, and then I spend an hour and a half cleaning all of that up. And then I'm frustrated, you know, but at the same time,
it's hard not to be.
Like you're saying,
but
you tackle
really
that in the beginning, and then it doesn't trickle down to that.
So yeah, you put some systems together to train your people well, and then you slowly stop running into those little things that should be common sense, and to you they are, but without the training for those people, they're just going through the motions.
Right.
I wanted to ask you what books you're reading right now.
So, dude, I've never been a book reader.
You should be.
I know, I'm starting to. The last couple of years, my older brother Adam, he was like, so what books are you listening to out on the mail routes? This was a couple years ago. And I was like, well, what do you mean? He's like, you don't listen to books when you're out on the mail route? And I never even thought about it.
Yeah.
And I was listening to music, maybe some podcasts.
Yeah.
And so I really started listening to a lot of books doing that. All the Jocko Willinks, I've listened to everything he has.
Awesome. It's awesome. Very, very important.
The Gary V stuff, listen to all the Gary V ones. I mean, when you and Eric were listing them off the other day, I've been through half of those, but they're just not coming to my mind.
Let's see. Well, one that I always like to recommend that I think will help you in your business dealing with all your employees and your wife and all the other relationships in your life. How to Win Friends and Influence People.
So I wrote that down when you and Eric were going through that.
Did you?
I wrote it down and was like, all right, that's one I've
That one, I mean, it's a fairly simple read, too, compared to some other of these personal development books.
Okay.
But I would definitely recommend that one. Another one that I think would be good for you is The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team.
Okay.
That one,
I'll get that for you.
I'll send it to you afterwards. Yeah. That one's more like business related and how to approach dealing with a team and the different levels of the team and what your position is at the top. So I love that book. I just read it probably 6 months ago.
Okay.
But that one, I always like recommending people books to read, depending on how our conversations go. Because I always like getting recommendations. I mean, in the past year, I've probably bought over 100 books just from the recommendations that people give me. I freaking love it.
Yeah,
I'm a book collector, so
I'm trying to get a lot more into that. I'm trying to transition from the listening them to reading, because it's just different what you're getting out of both sides.
It is, but some people learn differently.
Yeah.
The fact is, though, is that leaders are readers.
Right.
And if you want to be a leader at a high level, you got to be reading, and not just Goosebumps and Indiana Jones and Harry Potter.
Well, it's like your 75 hard shirt, right? Like I think about 75 hard, and I'm like, man, the book thing I don't think I could do, and I go through all the stuff I can't do, and I'm like, well, the book thing's not that hard. Like you just sit down and you just read them, right?
Just read a damn book, man.
And I'm like, instead of scrolling Facebook, you're just reading.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dude, that's why it's 75 hard.
Are you doing it?
I already did it.
You did it already. That's awesome.
And I bought me a shirt to show for it.
And
I finished on December 4th last year.
Oh, congrats.
And now I'm doing this physique show.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you may or may not be ready for 75 hard. I thought about doing it for a year before I did it because I didn't think I was ready for it either.
Yeah.
I actually tried it one time. I made it 27 days. And then we went out of town. And it was in the snow. And I was like, fuck this.
Yeah.
I ain't doing it. And I made every excuse not to do it. The next time I did it, it was through October, November, December. It was cold as shit. I was traveling all over the place, and I wasn't going to make any excuses. no matter where I was, no matter what the weather was, raining, snowing, 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm doing a fucking outdoor workout sometimes after I just got done traveling 12 hours to get to my location. So once you get to that point, it changes the way you think. It changes what you can accomplish because you've been so disciplined, and now you have a higher level of belief in yourself. So after doing 75 hard, new level of confidence, new level of belief in what I can accomplish and what my mind can handle. So now I've got a speaking engagement that I'm doing this week. And a year ago, it was like I wanted to speak. I just didn't know how I was going to do it. I was fucking scared to death. I'm doing a physique show in June, and that's, not quite the same level as 75 hard as far as like the regimen, but the discipline that you have to have with your diet. And I'm doing an hour and 50 minutes of cardio 6 days a week. I'm leaving here and going to the fucking gym to go get an hour and 50 minutes of cardio in.
We've done dinners, and I've seen you eat or not eat or bring something to eat.
Yeah, you got to be super disciplined, dude. And it doesn't just start like you make a decision like, yep, I'm going to be disciplined today. I think I'm just going to start doing 75 hard.
Right.
Doesn't work like that.
That's why, I've read the book, I've gone through all of it, and I'm just like, man, I really need to do it. But at the same time, I'm like, well, I don't want to start it and not finish it. And so that's what keeps me from doing it.
Yeah, it's you have to have some type of consistency in other areas of your life to build that confidence to let you know that I can do this.
Yeah.
And get all that negativity out. Like any doubt, you have to be past it. Don't let any of that negativity stick with you. It's always going to be there, but you can't let it stick with you. So when I decided to do 75 hard, it was kind of a collective thing that we had decided to do as a group with some other high-level people, business owners, CEOs. And, by the time we were done, out of the 4 of us that had committed, me and one other guy are the only ones that finished. And I know I did 100%. And, I'm not sure if the other guy did or not.
Yeah.
But once I made that commitment, I had already had a year before that of going to the gym consistently 6 days a week. So I knew that I just had to add one extra day of going to the gym a week, and I had to do an outdoor workout.
Yeah.
And I had to follow a diet, I had to read 10 pages, had to drink a gallon of water. And we also, the first time I tried it, I think the 27-day one, and the reason I failed is because we created our own. We called it the JKR 45 hard. Okay. So it was only 45 days that I made 27 days. And we did a 5-minute cold shower, too.
Okay.
As part of it.
And then the progress picture. That's the other
and the
thing,
progress
right?
picture.
Yeah.
Yep. But, yeah, man, that's important. Reading the books. I challenge you to start collecting some books, man.
Yeah, I need to read a little more.
Just starts with one time. One day in a row.
Well,
1 day in a row reading, going to the gym, eating healthy.
Well, all the books that you've named, half of them I've been through, but everything that you've named is something I would read. Like I'm not like Harry Potter, I'm not I'm not going to sit down and read something like that.
Dude, last year I bought me some Indiana Jones books because I read an Indiana Jones book when I think I was 17, and I went to detention, and the only thing that kept me from going fucking bonkers while I was in detention was I had an Indiana Jones book that was like 1.5 inches thick, and I read the whole thing in like the 7 days that I was there.
Oh, jeez.
And I enjoyed it a lot. It was like I was on an adventure while I was inside of the detention center.
Yeah.
And so it was just like a memory that kicked back in one day, and that's like one of the first experiences of actually intentionally sitting down reading that wasn't a required reading from school or something. I haven't read one of them, but I got like 6 Indiana Jones books on my shelf at my house.
Yeah, it's a funny story real quick. So I've never read books, never liked reading books. I did a few in school. I mean, like Tuesday with Maury, Ender's Game, like the couple they require you to do, and that's it. And the only time I would do them is if I was going to fail if I didn't do it. Like I would just take the C or the D.
Yep.
Like I just didn't anyway.
But if the book was the difference, you're like, damn, I got to read this one.
Exactly. If that was going to put me over the bump, Anyway, so I'm dating my wife, right? And she's going to school. So she was trying to get in the nursing program at the time. And she was super busy. We met in the singles ward. I was working a bunch. But at night, I was like, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? And she'd always be studying. And so I wanted to hang out with her, right? And so I thought, all right, well, what can I do while she's studying? And so I went and bought Larry H. Miller's autobiography.
Huh.
And I was like, so the next day she's like, I'm like, hey, what are you doing tonight? Oh, I'm studying. I said, sweet, I've got this new book I want to try. It would be easy for me to sit there because it'll be quiet while you're studying, and I'll read this book. And so it was like you're saying, it was the first book I'd ever read with like an intention to read it.
Wow.
And I've got it. I'll give it to you if you want it. And
you got to keep it, dude. You're starting a collection of
I
your
know,
own.
you're right. I got to get through a new mindset. And so, yeah, so I read that whole book of Larry H. Miller's autobiography, like basically hanging out with my wife, my
awesome.
then girlfriend.
You got to start somewhere, dude.
It just makes me laugh to like, that's what I had to do to hang out with her, is read a book. The guy that's read like 2 books his whole life.
Dude, the things you'll do to impress a woman.
I know, dude. I know.
But it has to start somewhere, dude. Like, you got to think of it like I'm going to become a reader. Like I'm going to start reading a page a day or 10 pages a day. Like, you want to become a reader. Leaders are readers, and you want to be known as a leader that reads books, that makes recommendations of books that you've read, and you're intuitive about where somebody's at in their career, and be like, you know what, this book would be good for you. It feels good to be able to do that.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap this thing up. This was a phenomenal episode. I think people are going to get some real value out of this. That's why we keep coming back and doing this.
Yeah, I hope so.
Because people can tune in, and people from all walks of life, no matter where they're at in their personal life or their business, they can listen in to what the things that we're talking about, like real life shit.
Yeah.
And to be able to take it and apply to their own life and take their relationships and their business to the next level. Mallory, we appreciate you.
Always.
Checking out for episode number 12. Thank you for checking in with us. Go like and subscribe the YouTube channel, Spotify, iTunes, all the platforms, you guys. Follow the Jefferson Rogers podcast. We want to make as big of a reach as we possibly can and help as many people as we possibly can.